Ultimately, surrendering is beautiful. There is so much power that we take back for ourselves in surrendering. There is so much peace in letting go. And a lot of us are really afraid of the unknown. A lot of us are really afraid of not knowing what the future holds or what the outcome will be. But trust me and trust in your faith and trust in yourself that there is magic always waiting for you in the unknown. Okay, hello everyone. Hi YouTube world, welcome back. I'm Jennimon, and today, getting straight into it, I think I'm going to choose to talk about the power of surrendering. And I had a few things on my mind that I wanted to touch on. I have a whole list of things that I want to unleash in this podcast series, but I think today I'm going to talk about surrendering, the power of surrendering. Surrendering to what, you may ask? Surrendering to the unknown, surrendering to faith, surrendering to what you don't know is going to happen, because it can be really scary and a lot of people struggle to have faith in uncertainty. And of course, there are boundaries with this. Like, I'm not gonna say, live recklessly and surrender and everything will fall into place. That's not what I'm trying to say. But as I dive into this, I'll try and explain what I'm trying to say. And it's more around the fact that the more we are able to surrender to things that are out of our control, our life becomes a lot more in our control, ironically. And we become a lot more at peace with everything that happens in our life. And I have so many examples of times where I had no choice to surrender. And of course, these days, with the healing that I've been working on and all the things that I've been learning about life and myself, I choose to surrender willingly, proactively to the unknown. But there were moments in my past where I surrendered without choice, and that's where the learning lesson truly starts and truly lies. It's when you actually have to do something by force, by choice, which makes you realize, hey, this is how things should be done in the first place. So the first point that I want to make about surrendering is it's so important that in order to surrender, we need to have faith. And I'm not saying that you have to be religious or believe in a God or anything of that matter, but you need to have faith in something that is greater than you, in something that is a higher power or maybe a higher form of a being, right? You can't surrender to something that is not greater than you, because surrendering means that you're relinquishing the control and you're releasing the need to control something. And the only way you can really truly let your mindset do that is if you have faith. So the most common form in this is having faith in a religion, believing in God, or if you're more spiritual, believing in the universe, the higher power, whatever it is. But you need to have faith that there is a greater being, a greater existence outside of you and your life. And that's why things like meditation don't mean to diverge, but that's why things like being present and meditation ties in with spirituality so well. It's because when you are so mindful and when you do kind of take a moment in life to reflect that you are this one being, this existence of a bundle of atoms in this whole entire world, in this whole entire universe, you realize how small you really are. And that's not to belittle yourself, but it's to put into perspective how much bigger problems or how much bigger life forces there are outside of you. And in a way, it's quite grounding. But yes, you do have to have some sort of faith, devotional faith, to surrender. You can't be someone who says, I believe in God, but you really don't believe in God and then try to surrender. Because what are you surrendering to? Your own lies, right? You need to truly have something that grounds you in order to surrender. And when you have that thing and you are able to surrender, it takes a huge load off your shoulders, because it takes a pressure off you to always feel like you have to be in control of every single damn detail in your life. It kind of takes away the fact that you are also responsible for every single thing that happens in your life. And I'm not saying that this is a way to run away from responsibility, but when you know that there are things that are outside of your control that you cannot change, and you surrender to that, that's really liberating. Because, moving on to my second point, which I just mentioned, there are going to be things in life that are completely out of our control, that no matter how much we try to change it, no matter how much we stress over it, no matter how much we cry about it, it's not going to change, or the outcome is not in our control. And in these situations is where I'm saying it's so important to learn to just let go and surrender. Because let's say you're at point A and the end result is point B. Point B is going to be point B regardless of how much you try to change whatever point B is. Let's just give an example. Let's say you think you're pregnant and you don't want to be pregnant, or you want to be pregnant, I don't know. But that is point B, and you don't know the results from A to B. You're in limbo, you're kind of waiting. Essentially, nothing you do between point A to point B will change whatever the outcome of point B will be. So you can stress your whole way through and still end up with the same result. Or you can try your best to surrender and let go and find peace in accepting whatever point B will be. And when that time comes, at least the emotional energy between A and B that you were able to give back to yourself and preserve for yourself will be yours. So in so many examples for me, I am going through a few things with my health in life at the moment. And this is something that I kind of forgot to do for a while. I know the power in surrendering, but even for myself, the last couple of weeks have been a little bit difficult because I have been, going through things with my lupus that I often even forget, hey, Jenny, this is out of our control. No matter how much you spiral, no matter how much you stress, it is what it is. God made you the way that God made you. And, don't mean to scare anyone and get a little bit too deep right now, but if it's your time, it's your time. There are things that I can control and things that I can't. A couple years ago, let's say 5 years back, I had to go on a therapy, rituximab therapy, that pretty much meant that I can't have kids while I'm on this therapy. And I had no choice but to go on the therapy if I wanted to stay alive. There was really no other alternative. They've tried so many other medications and nothing was working for me. So my doctor told me to consider this therapy at my own risk and at my own choice. And of course, even though the potential of not being able to have my own kids was something I had to accept, if I wanted to stay alive, I had no other choice. I had to take the therapy. So it was a huge decision for me. And I ultimately learned that there's nothing I could do about it. I just had to surrender, and I just had to have faith that everything would be okay. I had to accept the fact that I may not be able to have kids. And for many years to come that followed, I accepted that completely. By the grace of God, today, the therapy is actually completely out of my body, and I am in partial remission, which is a miracle for someone with membranous nephritis. So I did trust in the unknown, and miracles did happen. And you can account for this and say that, it is God, it is a presence that God is real, or it is a presence that you can mindfully heal your own body, whatever you want to choose. But I'm using this story as a context that I surrendered, and I could have been living miserably, living in stress environments, drowning myself every day, concerning myself with all these, thoughts that I couldn't have kids, it's never going to happen, and just consume myself, devour myself in this misery. But I didn't. I chose to just completely let go, surrender to the faith of the unknown. And regardless, even if the outcome today was still the same, that I wasn't able to have kids anymore, the truth is, I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose my mind. I didn't lose my time, because between the last 5 years and today, I would have still been living at my utmost, most positive self, and just living and accepting things as they are. So, surrendering has a really great power in bringing us peace as well. Surrendering also isn't about blindly closing your eyes and saying, okay, I'm not going to try in life. I'm going to just let, life take me and completely surrender. That's not what surrendering is. Surrendering is when you're faced at a point in your life, or at a fork or a decision in your life, where you have to make a choice, or there is no choice, if anything, to make. And you can either choose to stress about it and continue to stress about it, or you can choose to accept whatever it is. Most of the time, I understand if you're at a point at surrendering, it's something that is not the favored outcome that you want to accept. So in these cases, it means having the willpower, having the faith, in believing in your own resilience, that if you were to surrender, when the time comes, whatever the outcome will be, whether you know what it is or not, that you're going to be okay. So it's also a huge part of our mental health, and it's also a huge part of our internal and somatic healing, being able to surrender. And I know that having control in things in life is also seen as a trauma response for a lot of people, because if you think about it, the need or the desire to control everything in our lives pretty much stems from a fear of having faced things in the past that didn't end or didn't go well, that led to that trauma to happen. And hence, as a trauma response, in the future or in the present as we are today, we learn to want to always to control everything, and therefore we think that we have that control, and therefore we think that if we do control everything and we have the power to choose and create an outcome for everything in our lives, that we are more in control. But that's all really a trauma response, the obsessive desire to want to be able to control everything that happens. So surrendering is also about looking deep into our internal wounds and asking ourselves, is there something that I need to work on? Is there something deeper about me not being able to surrender and let go and needing to control something or everything in my life? Because I can definitely have a clear example of this in a much more shallow context. So after my breakup, I did attempt very early on to see other people, date around, have interests. But the failed relationship and the pain that that brought me was bringing up a trauma response. So I always tried to be so in control of everything that happened when I was talking to different guys or going through my dating period. And I realized that in a way, it was a really anxious trauma response to always want to be in control of knowing exactly what the outcome of that relationship will be, of wanting to know exactly how they felt about me, of wanting to know exactly what the next step will be. And it wasn't healthy. It definitely is not how I operate now, but I wasn't able to surrender and I wasn't able to let go. And this is a whole nother podcast to touch on this, but letting go and surrendering also applies within our relationships, whether it's romantic or within friendships. It's so important. So yeah, this is why I wanted to touch on this today, because surrendering is something that has brought me to a whole new level of knowing who I am and being my most authentic self for me, living my best life, and building up my resilience to everything that I face day to day. I think it's really important for us to all have something that we can surrender to within our faith, whether that's a religion, a God, maybe even like a spiritual idol, a real idol. I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, surrendering is beautiful. There is so much power that we take back for ourselves in surrendering. There is so much peace in letting go. And a lot of us are really afraid of the unknown. A lot of us are really afraid of not knowing what the future holds or what the outcome will be. But trust me and trust in your faith and trust in yourself that there is magic always waiting for you in the unknown. So let go of the one possibility that you're trying to hold on to make true, and let all the other magical outcomes fall into place and flow into your lives. I hope this has helped in any shape or form. I'll see you guys in my next video. Ciao!